Blog Talk Radio. Welcome to the Institute for Personal Development, Kriya Yoga Ashram, where total consciousness is the new frontier.
Kriya Yoga is union of the individual with the divine. Join us as we explore the practices to initiate this process.
Good morning. Welcome to the Voice of Yoga, Let's Talk Consciousness. I am your hostess, Lisa Winton, and with me is Kenny Toy, also known as Swami Jayananda, founder of the Institute for Personal Development, located here in Hampton, New Hampshire. Good morning, Swami. Thank you for being here today. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing pretty good today. And how about yourself?
I'm doing pretty good today, thanks. And I want to thank you, listeners, for tuning in. Today on The Voice of Yoga, we will talk about the new moon, which will happen at 10:58 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on March 27th, 2017. Actually, that would be today. The new moon is a time for new beginnings, and this one will be in Aries. Aries is notorious for quick starts with very little follow-up. Listen as Swami explains the T-square to Pluto in Capricorn in the second house, and how to use this energy that's available to us. Where there is a will, there is a way. We will discuss how we can all develop capabilities and skills. So join the Kriya Yoga Spiritual Advance, get the light in your soul, and experience the power of prana. So Swami, let's start right off. You're saying this is the new moon for the time for new beginnings, and this one will be in Aries. So what is it that we can learn from that?
Well, just like it said in the beginning, Aries is going to be a quick start. So I think a lot of us will be motivated to do something new, to do something different, or to just do something, even if it's wrong. But the one aspect that I noticed is that Venus is in conjunct the north node of the moon during this new moon. And this is a stress aspect that where there's material gain, there is spiritual loss, which is the north node is where we find material gain. And so with this stress aspect to Venus, it'd be interesting to see how that might play out for us, because it might challenge our values on some level.
So interesting. So you're talking about material gain, like if I want to go out and buy a new car. Are you talking about that kind of a material gain?
Yeah, anything that brings or manifests something into form is material gain.
So let me see if I understand this. So if we experience material gain, then you're saying we're going to experience also spiritual loss?
Exactly. That is just the physics of spirituality. That's one of the reasons why in the Bible it is written that a friend of the world is an enemy of God's. That they're not compatible. And that's one of the things that I think is really important to understand is that if you are attached to the physical world, then you're detached from spirit. And so a big part of your Kriya Yoga practice is to separate from your attachment to the world and then reattach to this realm of spirit, which is an invisible, intangible source of sustenance.
And so again, that comes down to what's going to become challenging for most people, because we are living in this world. We are living in a material world. So now we have to try to find this balance between needing the material, goods of the world so that we can live day to day, and then also, like you were just saying, try to connect to something that's more pure, powerful, and sacred.
Yeah, and whether we realize it or not, when you separate from your attachment to the outside world and you join with this invisible, intangible resource, it's going to become a practical guide for highly effective living. It's not like you're going to be irresponsible or disconnected from the outside world. I like what C.S. Lewis says, is if you aim for earth, you get nothing. If you aim for heaven, earth gets thrown in.
It's like a nice bonus, right? So you're not saying that we have to actually exit this plane of existence to connect with spirit. You're not saying we have to transition. You're saying there is a way to live in this world, this third dimensional way of being, and be connected to spirit.
Yeah, and it's all going to come down to what we use to validate ourselves and what it is that we desire. And that's why the term in Kriya Yoga that we use is called detachment. You're detached from the outside world. But you have to be careful. Detachment doesn't mean that you just dangle or that you're aloof or you have this I don't give a damn attitude. In order to detach from the outside world, you have to attach to the realms of spirit. You have to desire this invisible, intangible source of sustenance. But in the long run, it's really going to prove out to be just a much better way of approaching your life, have the benefit of internal support. And so what comes with that is just what we're talking about here with this new moon in Aries is bravery. That now all of a sudden you're going to have confidence. And you're not using things in the outside world solely to establish your sense of well-being. So you're better equipped to really face some of the challenges that we are when we try to grow, when we try and leave what's safe, familiar, comfortable, and known, and then we embark on the anxiety, the uncertainty of the unknown. And if you have the benefit of internal support, it just makes that so much easier.
I like the connection that you made with bravery and confidence, because really what is bravery? It's having the confidence to be able to stand up to anything, having the confidence to be able to take care of anything that comes into your path.
Yeah, and not becoming senselessly optimistic or even reckless or careless. Don't let courage slip into daredevil carelessness, which is one of the affirmations we use when we do the labyrinth. That bravery just means that you are able to manage unnecessary fears.
So now, in the summary of the show, we had talked about the T-square to Pluto in Capricorn in the second house. So first of all, can you review what the second house is, and then talk to us about the T-square?
Yeah, the second house is your house of value, the house of resources. It's our house of money. And this particular transit might bring some urgency to transform our values. Because it's in Capricorn, it may affect our reputation, public image, or on coming back to the second house, it may even threaten our resources. So a lot of that's going to have to do with just what it is that we esteem as valuable. And then again, if you're accustomed to using what you need as a source of validation, if things change in the outside world, then it doesn't negate them, but it makes it smaller. So in other words, like if the stock market goes down and all of a sudden your portfolio is worth 20% less, that you don't have to respond as if you're going to die. You might not be happy about that, and you may try and do something different or something to help prevent something like that to happen. But by the same token, you're not in danger. So that you're more intelligent about your response. And again, coming back to what we're saying, you're more detached.
So can you explain what the play of Pluto has with what's going on in the Capricorn in the second house?
Yeah, Pluto to me is a really interesting planet because on one level it is preservation and survival on its lowest octave. It really ties into just raw primal instinct. It's the guard of the underworld. But by the same token, Pluto is also the force of transformation. So it is our ability to transcend physical reality. So it can be a force that can be used maybe more on a negative level, that we polarize on preservation and survival. On a more positive level, we step out of our comfort zone and we start to grow in a positive direction. And again, it's all going to come down to, do I have the benefit of internal support? And that's what a transit like this here is really designed to do, is to check and see, what energy field are we drawing from? And if my sense of well-being is threatened by a particular transit, and whether that's imagined or real, or am I using my material gains to gratify emotional needs? Am I using external circumstances and situations to validate myself? It could be very productive of anxiety. Whereas if you are drawing from the right energy field and your values are in sync with universal order, that you're using what you need to produce the feeling you're happy, then when changes take place, like I said, it doesn't negate them. You're not senselessly optimistic or stupid, but you're more detached. And I don't feel threatened in the same way that I would as if I was disconnected from this resource.
Because that's really easy of a trap that we can fall into, is to use what's going on energetically and have us say, well, this is going to happen, so my day's going to plummet because this is what's happening in the astrological world.
Yeah, or the financial world, or the world of my relationships, or there's so many variables here, and everything is being affected by these particular transits. It's a biosphere of energy. And again, the more established we are and have the benefit of internal support, the better equipped we are to shape our inner state to fit these demands, these changes that are going to take place in the outside world.
So you're saying we should mentally change ourselves to fit that demand, as opposed to having these demands try to influence what's going on with us internally.
Yeah, that becomes the dynamics of an addiction, where I need the outside world to be a particular way to suit my inner subjective state. And a big part of what we learn in Kriya Yoga is that it is basically going to be my inner subjective state that is causing the outside world to respond to me, that we're actually attracting circumstances, situations, and events based on our level of consciousness, our degree of awareness.
All right, great. We're going to get back to that. We're going to pause right now to hear a word from our sponsors. So, listeners, we'll be back in a few moments. Kriya Yoga Theory 1, Human Development and the 8 Essential Stages of Kriya Yoga. This program is a comprehensive course that will help you get your arms around the science of Kriya Yoga. It provides a clear understanding of the goals and objectives behind yoga, along with the physics of spirituality. It includes the practices, supportive concepts of Kriya Yoga, and the process in human development, apotheosis, the process of the human becoming divine. A complete guide on how to become a human in the adult state. Get the light in your soul and experience the simplicity and joy of union with the divine. This course is available in live classes at the ashram or online with 8 videos or 4 CDs. Visit our website, www.ipdtransform.com, for more information. And welcome back. For those of you just joining us, you are listening to The Voice of Yoga, and we are talking consciousness. So, Swami, what I'd like to do is get back to what we had talked about in the summary for our show today, and the phrase, where there is a will, there is a way. Now, again, that's a phrase that we've heard all of our lives, but let's really break it down Kriya Yoga style.
Well, one of the things we can talk about here is Mercury is conjunct Uranus, bringing new insights into new ideas, and it may be concerning what we like to do for fun, sending energy to the Pluto. And where there's a will, there's a way is a really, I think it's an important part of this here particular configuration, in that managers aren't born, they're made. Students aren't born, they're made. Musicians aren't born, they're made, and so on and so on. And everything and anything can be developed. So once we make up our mind that this is what we want to do, then you develop the will. See, to me, that means that you're internally engaged. And that's the thing that you want most of all. Because just like the saying says, where there's a will, if I want something, I'm going to make it happen.
Now, would you say where there is a will, that means there was a thought behind that, which means that there's an intention. So would it be that the stronger the intention, the more powerful the thought, and therefore there begets the way?
Yeah, kind of. That, you know, when you're building your reality, it all comes down to the thoughts we think, the feelings we harbor, the beliefs that we accept, and it's really the scenes that we rehearse in the studio of our minds. It's if you just have a positive thought but no belief, nothing seems to happen. But if you have thoughts that are evoking feelings and now have started to establish themselves as firmer beliefs, then you emit thoughts with the power of intention. And so most of this, like what we're talking about, is that it's developable. That a lot of us, we think, well, I wasn't born a manager. Well, you can become a manager if you so desire. If you have that window of interest, then we all have the capabilities to achieve whatever it is that we set out to achieve. But if you're negative, if you have negative beliefs, then that's where you want to put your efforts, is changing those beliefs and working with outcomes. If your life isn't exactly what you want it to be, then what you have to recognize is that there is some sort of a conflict somewhere. There's a conflict between what I want and what I'm getting. And so we have to be able to recognize, well, how am I doing that? Because that's the whole thing in this model, is that there aren't any victims. that we're creating our reality. And this particular transit, I think, lends itself to helping us understand that with these particular transits, the 11th house Jupiter in Libra is opposing Uranus, Mercury, and squaring the Pluto. So lofty aspirations in the area of hopes, dreams, and our unique talent. See, possibly learning that making things fun might be part of my unique talent. And so when you're working with, say for example, just what is it that I do for fun? What is it that I like to do? Is a good place to start. Because that's where you're going to find your will in what you like to do.
You always say to find the fun in everything that you do, and I know even when it comes to vacuuming or cleaning the bathrooms or washing the dishes, you got to make it fun. Sing a song or dance a jig while you're vacuuming. I don't know, but you always seem to place importance on we can make anything fun. We choose one way or the other, making a heaven out of a hell or a hell out of a heaven.
Yeah, or as Abraham Lincoln said, a person's about as happy as they make up their mind to be. And if you're constantly trying to build from strength, focusing on what is there, and you're not focusing on what you don't have, then you're generating more of a positive frequency. You're generating more positive energy, which is more in sync with the creative abundance of the universe. It's your negativity that creates resistance to the infinite abundance of the universe. And so by maintaining a healthy, happy attitude, you're keeping the channels open. And then like I say, if the whole thing of seeing is believing, that we do, you don't want to be senselessly optimistic, you don't want to be stupid, you want to have evidence and something that you can grasp onto that will give you the feeling that I'm happy, I'm special, or I'm good enough. And that's what we talk about, that when you literally rebirth your body in the life force, that your number one need now becomes associated with your peak experience feeling. So if you take a breath and it's producing a feeling that you're happy, you're special, you're good enough, then you're in a position where you can start to move forward. You can start to use your creativity. You can use your imagination. You can take the benefit of like we talked about here, these transits that you might be able to bring new insights into new ideas. And then from there start to create new thoughts that will generate different feelings that may start to structure new beliefs. And then that gives us material that we can work with in our minds, visualizing, because seeing is believing. So if you visualize yourself doing whatever it is that you think you want, or whatever it is that you think that will make you happy, and if you visualize yourself doing that to the extent that you feel like you can do it or you are doing it, then it creates this biomagnetic force field that actually attracts this into your life. So you're actually making it happen.
And that's what you mean when you say we are the co-creators of our life. This is exactly what you were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So would you say, or would you agree with the thought that anything that is positive or fun or makes us feel cheerful, or that type of energy, would you agree that that type of energy exists at a higher level, and then negativity and speaking negative and using foul language and all those kind of things are on a lower vibration, lower energy level. So I guess my point is, though, if we try to find the fun in everything that we do, then we're operating at a higher level of energy, and therefore it will elevate everything else that we do.
Yeah, and you're actually closer to the creative principle, that you're inviting the infinite abundance of the universe into your life. And when we're negative, we're resistant to that. We're setting up limits for ourselves. And it all comes down to how we're thinking, what we're thinking, and then everything else affects that. But really, you really want to try and recognize that life is a simple mind game. And the more control you have, the more willpower you have, the more imagination you have, the more creative you are.
It reminds me of that saying that my parents used to say growing up, and you can either look at your world as the glass is half empty or it's half full. So I think even as a kid, we're taught those things, but then we never were really put in a position to maybe put that in place. And it's not until we get older that, we start to realize, hey, there is wisdom behind those words somewhere.
Well, I think even right now with this particular new moon coming up, and with Saturn in Sagittarius is trine Uranus Mercury in Aries, giving some emphasis on the value of aspirations. Take advantage of the new insights, the new ideas, and help form new goals for yourself. Like we're saying here, make being positive one of your goals. Make your life fun.
Right. And even being aware of the words that we use. How do we initially react to something? If somebody says, "How are you?" and you say, "Oh, well, my back," or, whatever, and you automatically respond with what's wrong with you,
right,
or what's wrong with your day, instead of saying, "I'm doing great, thanks. Wow, how are you?" It really does make a difference if we can put ourselves in this position to be aware of, like you were saying, how do we respond? What is the first thought that we have, and then what do we say?
And again, development of the higher mind is a possibility. The simple fact that you don't have to sit around and say, I wasn't born with this. We can develop it. That's an important thing. That opens us up to different outcomes.
And really believing that we have this can-do attitude, I think, goes a long way. And what you use, I love that word developing, because it just means to me that we're always in this constant state of growth, development. So when I wake up tomorrow, I'm going to be the better Lisa than I was the day before.
Yeah, and I use my yoga practice to constantly, continuously upgrade all of the different visuals that I have for all of the different departments in my life, so that things don't become stale and stagnant and you don't get caught in these ruts. And then using your creativity, not using your mental functions, we start to become mentally atrophied. And that's a big thing that I say that a lot of times people are losing their minds because they're not using them.
Exactly. And that's why Theory 2 class is so important, because we do discuss how we can bring yoga into our lives and talk about those things. Well, we do have to start closing down our program, so invite you listeners, of course, to visit the website, www.ipdtransform.com. Of course, you can make any comments or post any questions for Swami there. And please be sure to tune in next week to our program. We are going to be talking about World Health Day. So, Swami, do you have any other final thoughts or comments about today's show?
Oh, I'll just wish everybody a good day. Namaste.
And thank you for listening to our program, The Voice of Yoga. This is Lisa Winton along with Swami Jayananda signing off. Have a wonderful Kriya Yoga kind of day. Namaste.